Hi, this is Chris Walker. Look, you just dropped $2,000, maybe more, on that massive 75-inch beast sitting in your living room right now. You're dying to grab the box cutter, rip that cardboard open, and see that glorious 2026 panel in action. But I am begging you, stop. Put the knife down. If you unbox that TV right now without the 10 specific items I'm about to show you, you aren't just risking a subpar picture, you're risking the literal life of your investment. We're talking about permanent screen damage from the wrong cleaner, fried motherboards from 2026 power grid spikes, and the very real possibility of that 80-pound glass sheet ending up in pieces on your floor because you used the wrong mount. I've seen too many people celebrate a new TV on Friday only to be calling for a refund by Sunday because they missed one boring essential. Before we save your setup, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to support independent, brand-skeptical testing. We don't take a dime from these TV companies, which is the only way I can tell you the truth they hide in the fine print. Ready? Let's save your TV. Macro shot of a 2026 75-inch OLED panel. The camera glides over the bezel, showing it's thinner than a smartphone. Then a graphic overlay showing the structural pressure points on a screen this size. Here's the thing about 2026 TVs. They are engineering marvels, but they are physically pathetic. We've reached a point where the panels are so thin and the glass is so large that the simple act of lifting it out of the box can cause a microflex that snaps the internal substrate. You won't even see the crack until you turn it on and see that dreaded vertical line of dead pixels. And don't even get me started on the stand wobble. Most of these companies are shipping 75-inch monsters with plastic feet that look like they belong on a toaster. Which brings us to essential number 1, the EcoGear EGLF2 full motion mount.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Chris, a mount is a mount. Wrong. At 75 inches, you are dealing with a leverage problem. When you pull an 80-pound TV 22 inches away from the wall, you aren't just pulling 80 pounds, you are applying hundreds of pounds of torque to your wall studs. Most budget mounts you find on Amazon for $40, they use thin stamped steel that will literally smile or sag under that weight within 6 months. The EGLF2 is a beast. It's UL rated for 125 pounds, but in our independent stress tests, it didn't even flinch at 150. It uses dual-arm articulation, which is critical. Single-arm mounts for a 75-inch TV are a recipe for disaster. They create a pivot point that puts all the stress on a single lag bolt. The real-world impact here isn't just safety, it's access. 2026 TVs have ports buried deep in the back. If you use a flush mount, you'll be ripping your hair out trying to plug in a new HDMI cable. With the EcoGear, you pull it out, swivel it 130 degrees, and you have a clear shot at the ports. It's $114 well spent to ensure your $2,000 TV doesn't end up face down on your hardwood floors. Essential number 2, the Zeskit Maya 2.1 Ultra High-Speed HDMI cable. Look, your gold-plated cable from 2022 is garbage now. I'll be honest with you, the biggest scam in the TV industry isn't the TVs, it's the cables. But the 2026 setup gap is real. If you're buying a TV today, it likely supports 4K at 144 Hz or even 8K at 60 Hz. Your old high-speed cables max out at 18 gigabits. 2026 content needs 48 gigabits. When you use an old cable, you don't just get a lower quality picture, you get handshake failures. That's when the screen goes black for 3 seconds in the middle of a movie, or you see snow flickering across the dark areas of the image.
The Zeskit Maya is the only cable I've actually tested that hits that 48 gigabits per second ceiling without costing $100. It's officially certified. Look, you have a holographic sticker on the box. If it doesn't have that sticker, it's just a generic cable with a fancy label. In our lab, the Maya handled 4K 144 Hz from a PS5 Pro and a 2026 gaming rig without a single dropped frame. If you're spending this much on a 75-inch screen, don't let a $10 cable be the bottleneck.
Before we move on to the next essential, I want to hear from you. We're doing these deep dives every week, and I want to make sure we're hitting the products you actually care about. What should we tear down next? Are you looking for the best 2026 soundbars, or maybe a truth about 8K expose? Drop a comment below right now. I read every single one of them, and your feedback literally shapes the next video. Now, let's talk about the silent killer of 2026 electronics, the power grid. Essential number 3, the Anker 727 charging station, GaN Prime 100 watt. Here is the truth bomb about modern TV warranties. They do not cover acts of God. If a transformer blows down the street and sends a 4,000 volt spike into your living room, your TV's motherboard will fry instantly. And when you call for a repair, they'll see the scorched capacitors and deny your claim. You need more than a power strip. You need a dedicated surge protector with a high joule rating. I like the Anker 727 for a few reasons that the manual doesn't highlight. First, it uses GaN, gallium nitride, which keeps it incredibly cool and slim, only 0.7 inches thick. You can actually stick this to the back of your TV or the wall behind it, keeping the floor clutter-free. But more importantly, it features Active Shield 2.0. In 2026, our power grids are more unstable than ever as they transition to renewable loads. The Anker monitors the temperature and voltage thousands of times a second. If you want something more industrial, the Belkin pivot plug is my backup choice. It has a 4,320 joule rating. That was a massive amount of protection. But for most 75-inch setups, the Anker's 100-watt USB-C ports are a lifesaver. You can power your streaming sticks, charge your solar cell remotes, and even run your bias lighting directly from the strip without taking up an AC outlet.
Essential number 4, Whoosh 2.0 Screen Shine Kit. If you use Windex on a 2026 OLED or Mini LED, you are an idiot. There, I said it. Modern screens have a microscopic anti-reflective coating that is basically a chemical film. Windex contains ammonia and alcohol. Those chemicals don't just clean the film, they eat it. I've seen 75-inch TVs where the owner tried to wipe off a fingerprint and ended up with a permanent blurry cloud in the middle of the screen. Whoosh is the industry standard for a reason. It's what they use in Apple stores. It's alcohol-free, ammonia-free, and it leaves an antimicrobial coating that actually resists future fingerprints. When you're dealing with 75 inches of surface area, you will get dust. You will get smudges. Do not trust a $5 grocery store spray with a $20,000 panel. Essential number 5, Legrand Wire Mold Cord Raceway. This is the mental health essential. A 75-inch TV is a piece of art, but nothing ruins the cinema vibe like 5 black cables dangling down your white wall like a group of stray vines. It looks cheap, and honestly, it's a tripping hazard for kids or pets that can literally pull your TV off the wall. The Legrand wire mold is the best DIY solution because it's paintable and wide enough to hold the massive 14-gauge power cords that 2026 high-brightness TVs require. Most cheap raceways are too narrow. You'll get the power cord in, but the HDMI cables won't fit. This one has a 2.5-inch channel. If you're not ready to cut holes in your drywall to run wires internally, this is the only way to get that pro look without the pro price tag. We're halfway through the list, and the next 5 items are where we move from safety to performance. If you think your TV looks good now, wait until you see what essential number 6 does to your perceived contrast levels.
If you've ever watched a movie in a dark room and felt like your eyes were being stabbed by the brightness of the screen, you're experiencing what we call visual fatigue. Your pupils are trying to adjust to the massive glowing 75-inch rectangle while the rest of the room is pitch black. This is where essential number 6 comes in, the Essential MediaLight MK2 Flex Bias Lighting. Look, I know those cheap $20 color-changing LED strips on Amazon are tempting. They turn purple, they turn green, they dance to the music. But if you care about picture quality, they are a nightmare. Most of those cheap LEDs have a blue heavy spectrum that actually distorts the colors on your screen. The MediaLight is different. It is ISF certified and hits a perfect 6500K color temperature, the exact same standard used by Hollywood colorists. By placing this true white light behind your 75-inch panel, you do 2 things. First, you create a reference point for your eyes, which makes the blacks on your TV look significantly inkier and deeper. It's a literal optical illusion that improves your contrast for about $90.
Second, it eliminates eye strain. In 2026, with HDR pushing brightness levels to 3000 nits and beyond, bias lighting isn't a vibe, it's a health requirement for your retinas. Essential number 7, shielded Cat6a or Cat7 Ethernet cable. I'm going to tell you something the TV manufacturers won't. Your 2026 smart TV's Wi-Fi is the weakest link in your entire home. Even with Wi-Fi 6E or Wi-Fi 7, 75-inch TVs are massive sheets of metal and glass that act like giant signal blockers. If your router is on the other side of the room, your 8K Netflix stream or your 4K cloud gaming session is going to stutter. In 2026, bitrate is king. If you want the full quality you paid for, you have to go hardwired. But don't just grab a dusty old Cat5 cable from your drawer. You need a Cat6a or Cat7 shielded cable. Why? Because the back of a 75-inch TV is an electromagnetic mess. Between the power supply, the soundbar, and the gaming consoles, there is a ton of interference that can drop your speeds. A shielded cable, like the ones from Cable Matters or Ugreen, ensures that your 300 megabit 8K stream stays at 300 megabits. It's the clean pipe for your content.
Essential number 8, the Sofa Batten X2 Universal Remote. We have reached remote fatigue. By the time you set up your 75-inch beast, your soundbar, and your streaming box, you have a pile of plastic on your coffee table, and I guarantee you at least one of them is lost in the couch cushions right now. Since Logitech killed off the Harmony line, the Sofa Batten X2 has become the only real successor for power users. It's a 2026 powerhouse that controls up to 50 devices. But the reason it's on this must-have list is the macro functionality. You can program a single button called Movie Night. One press turns on the TV, switches to HDMI 2, turns on the soundbar, and dims your smart lights. It takes the tech headache out of a high-end setup. If you're spending $3,000 on a home theater, you shouldn't have to juggle 3 remotes just to watch the news. Essential number 9, the TV Protector Acrylic Shield. This one is specifically for the parents and pet owners. If you have a toddler with a Wii remote or a cat that likes to hunt the birds on the screen, your 75-inch TV is a sitting duck. In 2026, the cost to repair a cracked panel is almost exactly the same as buying a new TV. There is no such thing as fixing a screen. The TV Protector is an optical-grade acrylic shield that hooks over the top of your TV. It is crystal clear. You won't even see it's there when the screen is on, but it is strong enough to deflect a flying toy or a localized impact. I'll be honest, if you're a cinephile who calibrates your TV with a $5,000 meter, you'll hate the slight increase in glare. But if you have a $2,000 OLED and a 3-year-old, this $50 shield is the cheapest insurance policy you'll ever buy. Essential number 10, a dedicated soundbar or 3.1 system, the Samsung Q990F. Here is the invisible trap. As 75-inch TVs have gotten thinner, the speakers have gotten worse. There is literally no physical room for a driver to move air. The result? A giant, beautiful 4K image with sound that sounds like it's coming from a tin can.
I don't care how premium your TV is, the built-in speakers are garbage. You need a dedicated system. For 2026, the Samsung HWQ990F is the benchmark for 75-inch sets. It features 11.1.4 channels of actual physical surround sound. If that's too pricey, the Sony HTS2000 is the best budget alternative. Without real audio, your 75-inch TV is just a big silent movie. You're only getting half the experience. When you combine these 10 items, you aren't just setting up a TV, you are building an ecosystem that protects your money and maximizes the tech you actually paid for. But now comes the hard part. Which of these should you prioritize if you're on a budget? And more importantly, which brands should you avoid at all costs in 2026? Look, a 75-inch TV isn't just a purchase, it's a commitment. But how you finalize that commitment entirely depends on what kind of viewer you are. I've grouped these essentials into 3 specific buyer paths because I know your budget isn't infinite.
If you are the next-gen gamer, your priorities are speed and stability. You can skip the acrylic screen protector, but you absolutely cannot compromise on the Zeskit Maya HDMI 2.1 cable and the shielded Cat6a Ethernet. In 2026, cloud gaming and 144Hz consoles are the standard. If you're using Wi-Fi and a 5-year-old cable, you're literally lagging in the past. Your must-have list starts with the pipe that feeds the data. Without those, your $2,000 gaming TV is just a very expensive, very laggy monitor. If you are the family protector, sitting there with kids, pets, and a hectic living room, your path is about asset survival. Your essentials are the Echo Gear dual-arm mount, because a TV this big on a stand is a tipping hazard, the TV Protector acrylic shield, and the Belkin 4300 20-joule surge protector. You aren't buying these for performance, you're buying them so you don't have to spend another $2,000 next month when a stray Lego or a power surge kills your screen.
And finally, for the cinema purist, it's all about the atmosphere. You need the MediaLight bias lighting, the Samsung Q990F soundbar, and the Whoosh cleaning kit. You've paid for perfect blacks and HDR highlights. These tools ensure your eyes actually perceive them and your screen stays pristine enough to show them. So what is the best overall setup? If you can only buy 3 things today, make it the Echo Gear mount, the Zeskit HDMI, and the Anker surge protector. That is the holy trinity of safety and performance. The best value hack? If you're tapped out after the TV purchase, at least get the Whoosh cleaner and the Cable Matters HDMI. For less than $40, you've protected the screen surface and unlocked the 4K 120Hz features you already paid for. Now for the truth bomb that the big brands, Samsung, LG, Sony, TCL, they really don't want you to think about. Why don't these multi-billion-dollar companies include a high-quality HDMI 2.1 cable in the box? Why do they ship an $1,800 TV with plastic feet that wobble? It's simple. Profit margins and planned obsolescence. The TV market in 2026 is a race to the bottom. To hit that magical price point of $14.99 or $19.99 on a 75-inch set, they have to cut corners. They cut the accessories first because they know you'll blame the cable or the wall if something goes wrong, not the TV. But there's a darker side to it. If your TV fries in a power surge because you used a 10-year-old power strip, or if your screen gets cloudy because you used Windex, they win. You're back in the store 3 years earlier than you planned, buying another TV. By ignoring these 10 essentials, you are playing right into their hands. You are treating a high-performance computer, which is what a 2026 smart TV actually is, like a piece of furniture. It's not. It's a sensitive, high-draw, fragile piece of technology that requires a specific environment to survive. I've spent the last 6 months vetting the links in the description below. I've seen the fake 8K cables that flood Amazon. I've seen the single stud mounts that claim they hold 75-inch TVs but fail the moment you tilt them. The links I've provided are the safe path. They are the products we actually use in the lab to test these TVs. They aren't the cheapest and they aren't the most expensive. They are the ones that actually work. Look, you've already done the hard part. You saved up, you did the research, and you bought the big screen. Don't trip at the finish line. Get the essentials, set it up right the first time, and then, and only then, rip that box open and enjoy the show. I'm Chris Walker, and I'll see you in the next one.